receive the cup. There's nothing to beat a win at Wembley.
Black who's going to go for it. Black for the 1 point to win the grand final from Halifax, and he's done it. Ben Black strikes.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Talking the Facts of Live, proudly sponsored by Eclipse Energy. For all your boiler and heating needs, go to eclipseenergy.co.uk. My name's Mike Egg, as always, and joining me again, as always, is producer, compadre, Facts fan. Just got to let him know.
Barmy,
Ray Farrell, and then joining us today, a very, very special guest, my old friend of mine from the Loiners View podcast. Plug. Mr. Lawrie. How are you doing, Lawrie?
I don't spam, mate. Thank you.
I'm loving, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, I am absolutely loving the Halifax shirt on the Yorkshire flag.
Thank you. It's a very old shirt I found in my wardrobe. It's a very long story. I didn't buy it. It was a raffle prize.
Right, wind it in. Hey, don't that part where you're hard earned.
It's priceless. That's why I don't need to.
Exactly.
It's priceless. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's all right.
In honour of your visit, we're going to do another Dream Team because I like doing that last podcast, a bit of a Dream Team. It was good. We are going to do the Super League Dream Team, so our all-time Super League Dream Team, 1 to 13. Hopefully it'll inspire some debate, some controversial choices. Let's get it going. Let's get into it. So, shall we do it the opposite way around? Shall we go from 13 to 1 this time? Shall we?
I'm going to blow your mind with my first one.
Oh, go on there. Rick's been giving it the big one for his first choice, so go on, Rick. Take it away.
I want to see where you guys are going, because if I just come out of the gates, 100 mile an hour. So come on.
No, you can't go back now, Mr. Big Balls. Come on.
Come on then. Right, well, for fullback, I went for someone that probably wouldn't be seen as a fullback, but I think he had probably the best Super League season I've ever seen. He won Man of Steel, single-handedly dragged his team to a grand final when they probably were better teams in the league that year. So I'm going to shout out fullback Iestyn Harris. Dual code international.
Is that because Laurie's on the podcast? Come on, Rick.
Not at all. If you watch him in that 1998 season, he were unplayable. And look what happened. They took him out of that team and we beat him 42-0. And they put him in that team to play 2 games that mattered.
I like that subtle drop of that score.
Yeah. He's an interesting person, Harris. Let's put it that way.
Dual code international, done some coaching as well. He went into Salford at the time when they could have had anybody as a coach, and they picked him.
You'll be more qualified to answer this question, obviously, Lawrie. Like when Harris did so, I was watching old clips back. He wore 13 in his first season, and then obviously wore 1. He's very, very adaptable. Where would you see him in A, in a league side, or B in any side, really?
It's a really good question, actually, because when he came to us later in a bit of a mess, obviously it was 97 he came to us. I think fullback was his best position, but he did switch around from playing like halves as well for a bit, if I remember correct. But I would say, I'd probably agree with you, fullback, he had that ability to change games from there, which not many players could do that. But at the time when he came to us, what a player he was. What a talent. We paid a lot of money for him, and I'm not sure, did we get full value for him? It's an interesting one, but I don't know. It's a good choice, a fullback, I'll give you that. It is a different one, put it that way. I'll give you that.
Do you think he could have been a kind of before his time? Because if you listened to last week's podcast, and if you didn't, what we're doing, the reason why we chose Billy Slater is because he's kind of the quintessential modern fullback, as he's kind of a third halfback.
Yeah.
Iestyn Harris, halfback by design at Warrington and Wales, comes to Leeds. And you've got, at the time, you had Sheridan at scrum half, you had Tony Kemp as well. Yeah, you were littered with them. So do you think he was kind of the mould of it, of the modern fullback?
The interesting point is, if you look at who you just mentioned, if you think about it, Harris was way above them. That's my personal opinion. Kemp was a bit of a drodger from the old days. No offence to Tony Kemp.
But he was going towards the end, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think how we saw it was, and if you think about it, it's quite clever. It was probably Hetherington's first. It was Hetherington's first major signing. It's a big name, and he was a big young name. I think, was he designed for the modern day Super League? It's a good question. I think it's a potential, but then again, you've got to think fullbacks are pretty much halfbacks anyway, aren't they? In theory, but just stood further down the pitch with a bit more responsibility. So, yeah, I agree with that to an extent. I think he's, if you look, it's going to be interesting, actually. That's a good one. He did set us up, and he played really well. Let's have a look. I mean, if you think 99 Cup final, you were unbelievable. Yeah. But it's a good point. I'll give you that. Good point. It's not my choice, but it's an interesting one.
Speaking of that then, Laura, who have you gone for then?
Right, I've gone... I had three options, in fact, but I've picked one, Wellens. That's I know it's a bit of a standout call, but my issue is he's a bit of a turnstile. If you look, Scott Donald ran past him. I mean, let's be honest, in the grand final, Scott Donald made him mincemeat out of him, which, let's be honest, no, I mean, actually, Scott Donald was quite good. I picked him, but the other options I had was Chris Radlinski. You think about it, really good talent and really strong. But the thing with Radlinski was he did get a few injuries, not loads, but he did pick up a few. The other one which I picked originally, my Super League did this about a couple of weeks ago in the early stage of the COVID crisis. They picked you could pick your own and put it out there. Yeah. I picked Gary Connolly, which people were like, really? But Gary Connolly was a really good fullback. We had him in the which cup final was it? Cardiff, where we got ruined by
2003.
Yeah, where we got screwed. Yeah, he played at fullback on Lance Todd. Unbelievable fullback. So there's plenty of options there. That's why I'll still stick with Wellens though.
Yeah. I'd have thought you'd have picked Radlinski for the Ginger Union there, Lawrie. Because I picked Radlinski. It
was close run thing. For me, it was close.
Yeah, Radlinski for mine. Like Rick's absolutely right. Harris's 98, it was unplayable really, but Radlinski was just Mr. Consistent, and it was a close run thing between him and Wellens for me. But I think Radlinski had more going forward, I think. He was a lot more of an attacking fullback. He hardly ever dropped the ball. It was defensively sound, but he just got on the end of a lot of moves. But Wellens, in the opposite 20, did score quite a few tries, and he did well, but I just think Radlinski was Mr. Consistent. You don't stay in that Wigan side.
Do you think he played his best rugby during the Super League era, though? Because he was part of that dominating Wigan side and he won everything, and that's where he sort of...
Yeah, that's good. I'd say so, because you mentioned Connolly there, Lawrie. He's a great fullback. Connolly couldn't get back in fullback. He stayed centre because Radlinski was so good. So
and the embarrassing thing is, when you look back at him, who removed Connolly from Leeds fullback position?
Richie Mathers. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, he had a good couple of seasons, but... These things happen. You could mention a load of fullbacks. Yeah. I contemplated putting Sam Tompkins there, but I don't think fullback is his best position, to be honest. But
no, that's not
good. We've gone three different ways. Now
you've got to look at Wellens, though, to make a point. If you look at sheer amount of trophies won and medals, individual awards won, I think Wellens is probably head and shoulders. But I only went for Harris. Obviously, it was between Wellens and Harris for me. I chose Harris just as pure natural rugby ability. And I thought I'd throw the spanner in the works because I thought that you two would both go for Wellens.
No. It was close run thing because Wellens, obviously, the all-conquering Saints side, Wellens was a mainstay there. Yeah. His career matched Radlinski's pretty much. Came in, didn't he play as a 17-year-old in a grand final or something? Whereas
it was something like that,
very early. Hometown team, very, very kind of similar career path. But I tell you what, we'll concede to Wellens because Wellens was my second choice. Obviously, he's your second choice there, Rick, and you've picked him there, Lawrie. So shall we agree on that?
I think that's fair dues.
Fair enough. I think Harris is probably a better rugby player than all three, but is he a fullback by definition? Really, that's the only thing, really. But yeah, we'll go for Wellens. I'll put my executive privilege of host there. I'll put my foot down for that one. So fullback is done. Let's go on to the wingers now. Who have you gone for, Lawrie?
Are we doing? Do you want me to do them both? Do you want me to
go for it.
All right. Obviously, I've gone for Ryan Hall.
I wonder why.
I'll explain his selection. And the other one, I was torn between two players. I have picked Vinokola, but I did think of Jason Robinson. But I have picked Vinokola, so it's Ryan Hall and Vinokola for me. Wingers. Ryan Hall, he's a bit of an interesting one, Ryan Hall. Great attack. Defence can be dodgy, but he can tackle very well. He is quite good defence. he does have one big weakness, and it is a big weakness. When you watch him jump for the ball, he's not confident with high balls. That for me is his only weakness, as daft as it sounds. Because defence, he can be very strong, and he is very strong, but he can't. In terms of his attack and his power and strength, you have to have him as a winger. You have to.
You don't have many highlight clips of anyone where Hall's gone up for a high ball on the last and come down worse off and gets clattered or whatever, because he never seems to jump. But I do get what you're saying. He's absolutely spot on. He went through a period of try scoring, didn't he, where he just couldn't miss.
No, and he's an unbelievable, as daft as it sounds, he's very much an unbelievable winger, and he does cover that base very well. Plus, as well, he does come in to take some drives in. So he almost had a winger forward, which, we talked about this with fullback and changing position, but for a winger to do that, especially modern day rugby league, it is unusual, although it's starting creeping a bit more. But he's a very good talent, Ryan Hall. It's just like I say, he's catching high balls and a bit of his weakness and stuff, but otherwise, brilliant. Vainicolo, let's be honest, unbelievable talent for Super League when he was in. Try machine, just give him the ball and fireworks would happen. Great player. You can't dispute that. I can't really remember many of his weaknesses, to be fair.
When he first came over, it was dodgy with a high ball and positioning and stuff. Because I remember we played him a couple of times, they were a bit dodgy. But once they got into the groove, because obviously on NRL and Super League, although it's the same sport, two different kind of games. Once he got into his groove, it was just unplayable. Didn't wait, 6 tries scored against Hull or 5 tries one game or something?
Yeah, it was 5. Yeah,
it was just an absolute unit, and it gave Bradford a very good service. Damn it, but yeah,
really good. Far too good.
I'd love to see that, but you've got to appreciate class, and very, very good player. Good choices there. I've gone for Ryan Hall as one of my choices as well, and I've gone for Robinson as well. I can't be a hypocrite. I chose Robinson in my international dream team. He's one of my favourite players of all time. He's just to leave the sport at 26, 27 because you've done everything is just bonkers, and I think that's what kind of gets lost. And to use a Steveoism for any youngsters watching or listening, it's 20 years since he played Super League, which is a long, long time. And obviously, you've had the likes of Hall and Vainicolo and other people making sin you can make a case for as well. But for the first 4 years of 5 seasons of Super League, there weren't a better winger. There weren't anyone to touch Robinson, really. And his try highlight reel is just unbelievable. So, yeah, I've gone for those. Ryan Hall, you can't do it. Ryan Hall's finishing's underrated, I think, as well. He's done some right modern day finishing. He's utilised the corner flag meaning nothing well.
Whenever he got the ball out there, you'd always think if the ball came out to his side, no matter where he was, you'd think something might happen, whether he would either go down the wing or cut his side. He did have the opportunity, and he always played well. Given all his centres and stuff he had playing outside of him, he was always. Sometimes I know they always say the winger's always as good as the centre outside of him, but a lot of times in the case of Hall was as good as the person with him, as daft it sounds. Really good talent, and he felt a bit sad when he left WBA to go to Sydney, but I think we'd probably have the best of him. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
You couldn't ask for much more.
You can't mention Ryan Hall without mentioning the second best left flank interception break of 2015 behind Steve Tyrer against Bradford. Of that try, I think he's probably going to be known as now to win the league leaders' shield.
Yeah, that was.
Just sidewind a little bit. What was that like?
I'll be honest, we'd had a very drunken day, and that season was one of the most drunken periods of my life. We ended up that day. The stand. Galfard was packed. It was literally ridiculous. Yeah. And we were stood right at the back. And if you'd been to that way end where the scoreboard is, we were literally behind, just to the side of that. And I just remember, I can still visually remember it now because it was so tight. The atmosphere was horrendous. And I just remember the kick being put in by Maguire and Hall getting it. Next thing you know, there's limbs just flying everywhere. One of our mates who comes to games, I won't reveal too much of his past. He has a bit of a notorious past at rugby games, but that's another story altogether. I just saw his feet go flying down the stand. And literally, me and a mate go crashing into the wall at the back of the stand, jumping around. Literally, there's limbs flying, beers just all over the place. And then once we didn't even know it on the video screen. We literally have no idea. We just celebrated. It was a try because Stuart Hall got it. There was no way nobody would catch him. And I just remember afterwards, like we were all stood there going, "What have we just witnessed?" It was one of those moments of pure wow. It was one of those moments you'll never forget. And I just remember my mate went flying down the stairs and he ended up like smashing his teeth at the front because literally his head just hit the floor. Anyway, he had a really big super bet on, like literally Leeds to win all 3 trophies. And he ended up winning like an absolute fortune from bookies because he had that bet on and it paid for his teeth getting replaced. So yeah, it was a successful day for everybody that day.
Oh,
Sorry, that just went on a little bit, but yeah, it was that moment of pure emotion.
Poor Greeks.
Good stuff. Rick, who are you going for?
I'm going to make you judge, jury, and executioner here, Mike, because I've gone for a combination of between the two of you. Now, you never thought I'd put bullying, did you? But I have. I've gone for.
Wow, that's a big call for you.
It's a massive call. I had to finally say. You said it yourself. You can't overlook class, and it was just so explosive. I didn't call him the volcano for nothing, and he just made it look so easy. We're running over people, seasoned professionals, making them look like, when you're amateurs and you're under 10s or whatever, and you have that one massive kid in your team. That's what it made it look like. It schoolyard stuff for him. Yeah. And then for my other one, I was torn because I was going to go for a personal favourite of mine. I just like the way he played in Pat Richards. But I put him in my international team, so I'm going to have to go ahead with Jason Robinson.
Yeah.
Speed kills, and that boy had it in absolute droves.
Yeah.
Just entertaining to watch. It were everything that Super League was about, or what they wanted it to be about. It was a poster child. It was Billy Whiz.
Legend.
So, yeah.
They're my choice.
So we've got 2 for Hall, 2 for Robinson, 2 for Vainicolo.
Do you think...
So, how do we decide this then?
Vainicolo, definite. And it's your choice.
Compare Jason Robinson to Ryan Hall. I think only one of them's won a World Cup. So...
yeah, it's a tricky one. It's very, very tricky. I think for longevity, personally, to the longevity, you've got to pick Ryan Hall because he's done it for longer, really. But it's one of those, really. Toss a coin.
Go on then. Go on then. Do it.
Go for it. Let's have Ryan Hall and Vainicolo there. Play. Dirty traitor Robinson leaving us for a different game.
So Robinson makes your international team, but doesn't make your Super League team.
He makes mine, but the combined Talking the Facts of Life, Super League, all-time Dream Team 13, let us know, catch your title.
That's a big call.
Well, let's go for strength, shall we? Robinson's tiny with he's like a little Mighty Mouse. He's Billy Whiz. Vainicolo and Hall, they're practically 2 second rows on the wing there. Hall and Vainicolo. So, centres. I'll kick off centres by saying one name straight off the bat, Jamie Lyon. Even though he played 2 seasons, I will wax lyrical about that guy because he is, like I mentioned on the podcast last week, he was one of the very few Australians, if not the first, to come over in his peak and then go back to Australia and play rep rugby. Usually, if Australians come over here, it's for retirement, or if they go back home, they don't do well, really. It was absolute box office, was Jamie Lyon, and it was an absolute joy to watch Super League in that respect there. So I've got Jamie Lyon for one, and then you can't pick a Super League dream team at centre without picking Keith Senior. You just can't. He's controversial in some respects, but he's just an absolute man mountain. And yeah, we mentioned last week about the amount of tries he set up for his winger, his left winger. Right up, I got quite a few tries for off Senior or whether like Scott Donald on the other side as well. But just an absolute man mountain of the guy. So yeah, I've got Senior. So
not bad.
Do you agree? What's consensus on that?
My choices as well. It was a difficult one actually because you can't look anything other than them two. I know it sounds crazy, but
I think you can.
all right, you got over your
Go on then, Rick.
Now, I obviously went for Keith Senior. Mike said it all there, the Man Mountain, but they were just this guy. I just absolutely love watching him play. Jamie Lyon, yeah, unbelievable player. Probably would have put him in, but my highlights of Super League and what he meant to the early days of Super League. He could score a try from anywhere. And Paul Newlove.
Oh yes, that's a spanner.
I've got him on my reserve, not on my bench, but on my reserve. Yeah, did he ever play second row? Newlove? Because I always thought he had
done.
Because I always thought he had that body build and also the strength to play as a second row, but I don't think he did.
He went to Cass after Saints, didn't he?
He had that great spatial awareness that you need as a centre to just sort of coast around the edge of a defender. And once you got round him, he had the pace to then kick on and make it to the line without having to put his winger away or whatever. So, yeah, they're my two.
Mm-hmm.
I would concede him playing because he was just a game changer, wasn't he? And it changed the way that the position was probably played. So I'll bow down to that one.
Flick pass and all that malarkey. And he's just box office. As I say, my reserve had Newlove and Martin Gleeson in it, to be honest. But
Gleeson's a good shout.
Yeah, but you're going to say that, Lawrie.
I'm not a big fan of Gleeson. I never did it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, probably a lovely bloke, but I just didn't think. I thought he was a little bit overrated, personally.
Player's player is Martin Gleeson.
Yeah,
that you want alongside you.
That's it. I think he's one of those that if you play alongside him, you know you're going to do well. And then, yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Yeah. So Lionel Senior is then. That was nice and easy. They're very nice and easy. This one isn't going to be easy. 6 and 7. Woohoo! So, Lawrie, kick us off with 6 and 7.
Right. Standoff. Danny Maguire. Has to be. I think as a player who can control games, there's been, I'm going to say it's really controversial, especially considering I've got playing alongside him. Maguire had everything in terms of, if you watched him, his mental state when he was playing, his mind, he knew what was happening 2 or 3 plays on. That's how good he was, Maguire, for me. He just had that ability to change games in seconds and also to break defences. If you ever watch his gameplay, defences never really knew what he was doing, or if they did, they were quite shocked. And the fact of who he played around as well helped him, I think. It enhanced him. Plus, he could work alongside Burrow, Sinfield, create stuff, disking at hooker and Badouris when he was a hooker. Just amazing talent. And I think for me, he just was one of those players that I just think if he'd played a bit more, well, he did play internationally, but if he'd played more and had people around him, he would have been game changer for Great Britain and England. Personally, that's my opinion. Might disagree. Scrum half, I think it's got to be Sean Long. He was such an unbelievable talent. And when we on Loiners View, we kind of did this sort of thing a while back. Early on in COVID, and I put Sean
a bit slow on the uptake. Apologies.
Hey, it's all right, Tommy.
Yeah, we just don't care about Super League. It's all championship.
Priorities elsewhere. Sean Long was like literally people going, "How can you pick Sean Long?" And I was like, "Well, Sean Long was if you watched his game, he scared defences left, right, and centre. Scared Leeds. There was some epic battles we had against Sean Long. And let's be honest, there's not been many scrum halves who've been able to do that as well as what Sean Long's done over his career.
No, solid choices there.
I too as well. I went for Danny Maguire and Sean Long. Maguire's try-scoring record. I mean, it's a record. You talk about, you picked Radlinski as your fullback, Mike. You want a lad to get on the end of it when someone. Maguire did it, made a career out of that, and then was able to adapt when his legs maybe were going a bit. Was able to adapt to a game management style more so. And I remember watching that grand final when they played Cass. He just had the perfect game. They were never going to lose that game with Maguire on the field. He was just an absolute game changer. That word keeps coming up, but a guy that can get the ball in his hand and dictate things and make things happen when he wants it is just invaluable to any team in world rugby. And then you look at Sean Long in the early days of Saints' dominance, all those drop goals he kicked. You look at arguably the most famous Super League highlight ever, the wide to west. Long fancies it. He's keeping it alive. Yeah. He's making things happen. And then for Great Britain as well, we haven't really had many outstanding halfback performances buy halfbacks in Great Britain shirts over the years. And Long was one that was able to go to Australia and do it. So I think he needs extra kudos for that. But in terms of what he did in Super League, they won everything. And he had a good time doing it. And I love players like that. He's a maverick. And the game's missing those kind of players these days.
Yeah, I've gone for two completely different people. Oh, dear.
Tell us, let's move on.
Well, I've picked Sinfield as my 6.
What?
Played a lot of rugby at 6. Played rugby at 6. But also, you'll find out why I put him at 6, Rick, anyway. I take your point on Dan Maguire. I'm not going to argue with you, Lawrie, because you've obviously seen a lot more leagues than me. But I think Maguire was able to flourish because Sinfield was tying up a lot of the work, tying up a lot of the organisational thing. I think Maguire became a much better player when Sinfield retired, but also as he got older and he got more experience. First 4 or 5 years of Maguire's career, he was just so quick and his awareness was brilliant. I personally think he was shocking running a game, but again, I don't watch all Leeds games. Well, I do because you're always on bloody telly, so I can't not watch it all the time. I just think Sinfield is the most underrated rugby league player, possibly of all time. I don't know, but I absolutely love the guy, and I couldn't leave him out of my team, but I had to put him at 6. Because I put him at 6, I put Lee Briers at 7.
Ooh.
Lee Briers is just, might not like him he's one of those the quintessential player, in my opinion, Super League history of you hate playing against him, but you'd love to have him in your team. You'd love to have Lee Briers in your team because he'd just drag you around the pitch really well, kicking really, really well. And he just came up with really, really good moments of brilliance there, and how he didn't get more represented. I'd have loved to have seen Briers at 6 and Long at 7 for Britain. I think that would have been brilliant. They could have unlocked any defence. And again, I picked him some. But I can't argue with democracy. I'm not Donald Trump. So who have we got? So we've got Maguire 6. And Long. So I can't argue with Sean Long. Sean Long's a box office. He made very similar to Jamie Lyon. People watched Super League because of Sean Long, because he didn't know what we were going to do next. Although I very nearly put in Tommy Martin. I love watching Tommy Martin. You're grimacing again, Lawrie. I like the grimacing.
Tommy Martin was a good player, but I just think, I don't know. I thought he was very one-dimensional. No offense to Tommy Martin, but. Yeah.
What a dimension to have, though.
He was a good player, don't get me wrong. But,
I think it's a dimension that's been lost in halfbacks these days.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
You're right.
Things out of the ordinary and stuff. But again,
I think you could give him for a good shot and most underrated, because that scored at Knowsley Road where he kicked the ball around the fullback. I can't believe we don't see that on highlight reels more often.
I think he did well.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Oh, yes, I know each one you mean.
100 times it would never work. And even to attempt it, to have the audacity.
I think he did one of the first no-look passes as well in a Wigan Saints derby. Just casually against Radlinski. I love the guy. But democracy rules on this podcast, so I have to bow down to yours to infinite wisdom. Let's go for a front row this time. Let's go prop forwards. Rick, kick us off with those. Actually, if we asked it
for 5 minutes, we'll get the props out and we'll leave the hooker till afterwards.
Cool.
So I went for number 8, the guy that I considered at the time to be the world's best prop forward. It was unplayable. The teams had to game plan entire sessions just to combat this one guy, Stuart Fielden. When Fielden was at his peak, he was unbelievable, and he was a menace to us for years and years. And then the other guy is probably the elder statesman. Again, if you were going to build a Super League prop, and towards the end of his career, he looked like they'd built him from parts like Frankenstein's monster. Jamie Peacock. Yeah. Now, Peacock was probably 40 when I considered him to have his best Super League season. He started in the back row, didn't he, before he moved to the front row? But if you love your stats and you love all that sort of Opta stuff, then Peacock is the player in the front row for you because he never gets bested. He makes every yard and he makes every tackle. And that's what you want out of your props. Them two for me.
Yeah. Good, very good choice. Lawrie, you must have picked Peacock, surely.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable player. And his final season, I mean, he never even set up training towards the last 5-6 games because his legs just couldn't do it. So they're literally throwing him in. Unbelievable player. And such a nice bloke as well. I mean, personality's not involved with this, but you have him on your pitch playing for you, he's going to bleed.
He's inspiring when he talks, isn't he? He's just so passionate. You can't help but be drawn in by him, can you?
It's unbelievable talent. My other choice, I'm keeping it with the Ginger Union. Jammer, James Graham. Absolute forward.
That's what I've gone for.
And literally, the fact is, he's almost a really weird thing. He's almost prop halfback. If you think about it, the amount of offloads, he directs the ball either as a forward. He's unbelievable talent. You've got to have him every day of the week in your team.
I picked Graham. Fielding, you make a very, very good point there, Rick. It was awful. It was part of the awesome foursome at Bradford. You could pick any of those four props. They were absolutely brilliant. I just think that punch from Willie Mason did him in more ways than one. After he just was not the same player, which is a crying shame because I think it was the World Cup Challenge 2004. 2004 when he played West. Yeah.
Oh, West. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
He played. It was just unbelievable. No, it would have been 2006 he played West. He played Penrith in 2004.
The Oracle.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. It's very rare prop forwards win a game on their own, but he practically won that game by himself. He was unbelievable. But Graham, we mentioned it last week on the podcast. He kind of rewrote prop forward, but you could say he's a bit of a throwback. He's a ball handling prop forward, really. But he still does what a prop forward should do: hits hard, gets to a tackle, quick play the ball, that sort of thing. I did contemplate putting Sam Burgess in there, but I think in Super League he was on the way up. Unbelievable player he was in Super League, but his best rugby's in NRL really. So we've got James Graham and Jamie Peacock on our props. That's a good time to stop. Join us for more. If you really want to know who our hooker second row loose forward is, we'll see you on the other side. Hello, welcome back to the second part of Talking the Facts of Live, sponsored by eclipseenergy.co.uk. If you are needing to keep warm or keep your house insulated, give them a visit on Eclipse.
Everyone's doing DIY at the minute. What better time to get your boiler?
Yeah, exactly. I've neglected to give them a proper shout out. So yes, go visit. Lifelong Facts fans, put money into the club. Least we can do is give them Yeah, I love the guys because they gave us money to get equipment which we've not been able to chuffing use. Yeah, but obviously Rick's using it now. I can't use it. I've got my phone. But anyway, that's another story. We're joined by my old mucker Lawrie from the Loiners View podcast. Leeds fan, even though he's wearing a New York T-shirt and facts. But I said to Rick, oh, we'll get Laura in the podcast as a Leeds fan. Oh, why not a Leeds fan on? I said, because we're solidarity against hatred.
Well, I won't say hate them. I just hate also. In fact, when we played them in the Challenge Cup last year, even though they beat us, I was so obliterated. I just thought I can't picture being in this ground, so I got very drunk. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Only way.
Okay, so before we carry on, we'll give you a chance to plug your podcast. What's it about? Where can we find you?
Right. Loiners View podcast is basically a podcast with 3 or 4 Leeds supporters, but it's not all about Leeds RL. It's pretty much we try to make it about rugby league, and it really is. Although we did kind of go a bit off it this past week. Yeah, it's basically available on YouTube. We're on there. We've got a channel on there with like loads of rugby stuff. We've also got a Twitter account which I kind of run at Loiners View on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on every week. It's on all podcasts, hosts and everything. About an hour's long. Really good. We have the guests on and we talk rugby league. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, you had some very, very good guests on. I must admit.
We've done all right. Yeah, we've not done too bad. Yeah.
Just in case you didn't get that sarcasm, I was a guest on there, and I did very, very
exactly.
well.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're not done so bad. You was a brilliant guest, my friend. Thank
you very much.
We'll get on in a few weeks' time as well. Yeah.
Rick would love going on a Leeds podcast. Blimey.
I refuse you all senseless.
Hey, all I'm going to say is, we it's not all Leeds, so it's all right. You're more than welcome. We just called it out because it's like 4 rugby blokes from Leeds. That's it. All Leeds.
Same with us. It's like I say about it's Rugby League podcast with just a hint of Halifax in there.
Yeah, I mean, we occasionally rip Castleford, but everybody is entitled to do that nowadays. So.
Of course they are. Anyways, plug over. So get your dirty plugs out of the way. Let's go on to the dirty hookers, shall we? Now, Rick reckons we might be in solidarity in this. I don't think we are. So, Rick, go on then. Mr. Big Balls, I've got some ace choices here. Who have we got?
There's only one player that I think out of the ones that will be selected here that's got a statue of him outside the stadium where he's going to play. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just everything that you wanted. He was a man mountain, built like a brick house, and he had the trademark of going from dummy half. Kieran Cunningham, I mean, what an absolute warrior of a player he was for both St Helens and Great Britain. Like I say, to be held in that high regard, to have a statue of you outside the ground. Yeah, it probably didn't work out for him when he was coach there, but you can't take anything away from his playing days. Unbelievable.
Great minds think alike, Rick. I've got Kieran Cunningham as well. If anything, Hooker was one of the ones where there's abundance of riches there. You've got absolutely, I won't name them all because I don't know who you picked, Lawrie, but I'll say one in terms of James Roby, because obviously it was Master and Apprentice, and a lot of people say that Roby is probably one of the best Super League players of all time. He is. If you're picking a 17, you'd have both Cunningham and Roby in there every day of the week. I've picked Cunningham over Roby because although Roby is Roby's Mr. Consistent, Roby will give you that. Cunningham will give you that. He will give you so many peaks in that respect, and he was a match winner. I don't think Roby wins matches. He contributes to the winning matches by his tackle and stuff, but Cunningham could lay on a pass. He could snatch a try from dummy half. Again, what we say is where he probably rewrote the role of a modern hooker.
He had a bit of Mongol in him as well, which is something that's a bit now.
He was just desperately unlucky for injuries because he always seemed to get injured and needed stuff doing over the close season. And the Aussies don't rate him because they've never really seen him in a Britain shirt because he was always injured. But when he did, it was superb. But I've got him as my choice. Lawrie, who are we going for?
Roby. Funny enough, I'm not going to plug it. On my show last week, we had a bit of discussion about underrated players, and actually Roby was one that categorically we all agreed on. I think Roby, and it sounds really bad to say this, if Saints had lost those finals, Roby would have been up there.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'd have been seen as the best hooker. And because they lost all those finals, it kind of worked.
It's interesting you say that because I use that logic as to why I put Fielder in over James Graham. Because they lost all those finals. You know, they had that record where I think they lost.
I get that. And I think the issue, not issue, but I think you've actually raised the issue that I didn't pick Cunningham is because of his injuries. I think Roby offers, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Cunningham, brilliant player, especially if you're in the red zone, you're going to get punished by him. But Roby tackles like a machine, create stuff. He has that ability he doesn't necessarily change games, which he does as a hooker, but he can get the momentum going to do that, which is a hooker you need to do. Cunningham did that, don't get me wrong, but I just think his injury aspect really just, it's a tough one, don't get me wrong.
And Roby don't miss any games, does he? He's an absolute machine.
And he's so, I definitely think he's underrated. Don't get me wrong, I know people will reply to us now going, Roby, underrated. I think personally he is. I just think,
you can say that, You can see some great players who are really, really underrated for what they do. I can't think of any now, but there
is another one that we actually mentioned last week as well, Washbrook. He could have been in there. Well, I don't know.
There's a spanner in the works, and that's a screwdriver in the works. Is that?
Well, I'm not going to go there, but
So
my
I'm
pick
bottom
is
up.
obviously Rowe. But
Now we're going to make the case of Sinfield being at hooker because his best international games were at hooker. But
that series he was superb. But yeah, he did play in much. He
it's-
didn't play in Super League. No.
No, but again, you think of all the hookers that are being Super League. You've got Cunningham, Roby, you've got Biskin, you've got Newton, you've got Malcolm Alke, you've got Paul Rowley for Halifax on there. You've got absolutely loads. You've got he's such an important position, and the wealth of talent that we've had there. Even like the likes of Mark Riddell from coming over from Australia as well. Who Scott Morrell, exactly. Scott Morrell, Sean Penkovic.
So
Let's
funny,
name
isn't
all
it?
like Halifax hookers. Mark Gleeson, Bob Bezic,
Bob Bezic, what a legend.
Ben Fisher. He's super
Well,
good. But yeah,
it's
there's so many there, but
Like I say,
it's
only
coming-
one has a statue outside the stadium.
true. And I'm so glad that it's not messed up. Like we had it with Harrison. Harrison, Hall of Fame, absolute all-time great. Didn't work out in coaching, and it just shows the adage of great players don't necessarily make great coaches. Harrison has been a very, very good coach. He just didn't work out in Halifax. It was possibly the right coach at the wrong time because he followed Callan where we were swashbuckling and won games 50-odd, 40-odd. Harrison very much was used to playing very kind of one-dimensional, for rugby. Cunningham was the same. I've got a few Saints fans who said that we might be winning games. I think they got to a grand final or cup final to Cunningham, but the brand of rugby was so boring. You think of Saints, classic. You're thinking of like they don't lose games, just run out of time, and the famous saying you can never write off the Saints. You never really got that with Cunningham. It was just very much of a lull, really. But it's a testament to the guy that they still think the world of him.
Yeah.
Because what's a player really? And you might have had that a little bit with Sinfield, really. Are you kind of glad that Sinfield didn't become the proper coach, the full-time coach of Leeds?
It's a tough one with Sinfield because he's not.
I know that Agar has his critics, but I think Agar's done very well.
It was really weird when Agar came in, actually, because we kind of all did the thing of, God, this Agar's been crap everywhere, like almost the thing of what's going to happen. And then you kind of realise he's actually quite clever because he doesn't, as daft as it sounds, he does a lot of his stuff behind the scenes. Like you watch his press conferences, it seems quite dull. But from what we gather and what we see, he actually does a lot behind the scenes. The players love him and the players really work for him, which, I mean, we're not going to go too far into this with Leeds, but you have Dave Ferner, who, great player, terrible coach. And then McDermott, but let's not talk about Brian McDermott. But Sinfield's going to be an interesting one, I think. I mean, he definitely won't be head coach, but as a director of rugby, and he'll end up being like Gary Evington's position.
Oh yeah, I don't see him as a coach. I think he'll be in a position of power, but not actually on the rugby field. But I think for his legacy's sake, I think it's good that he's not become a coach.
Oh yeah,
He's
not behind the scenes. Yeah.
What he did for you guys is ridiculous. But he's not made our team yet. It's Kieran Cunningham that's made our team. 2-1, Lawrie. Sorry.
It's all right.
You can't argue the numbers.
No.
Second row now. Lawrie, I'll leave it for you. Who's made your second row?
Right, one of these you're definitely not going to like, but one of them you probably will. So I'll go with one that is probably pretty obvious. Gaz Ellis, absolute machine, absolute warrior, and the longevity of the guy is unbelievable. Considering he decided to retire, I went, no, I'm going to come back when there's an injury crisis, and he's still playing. He's a brilliant player, and the one aspect of Gaz Ellis is he just doesn't know when to stop. He's literally on the pitch. If you watch him, workhorse, and for a second rower, unbelievable talent. Right, my second opinion, you're going to laugh at this, but I'll explain why. JJB, right? So,
Not
There you go.
right,
Yes.
I'll explain. I'll explain this, okay? I know you right. So you've got a team, right? You pick JJB. Now, if you think about it, he played for Leeds for 20 years, right? Every coach picked him none off. Yes, okay, he gave a lot of penalties away. However, he was a machine. He tackled like mad. He grafted. He took the ball in. He went for it. If there was any moment he was trying to be on the pitch, okay, that's how testament to the man. Great on the pitch, great off it. Yes, he was a penalty machine, but dedicated to the cause. That's JJB. Unbelievable talent.
Do you not think that he's just a very, very good club player and nothing above? Because
Interesting debate.
About who I've picked, my players are at the top of the game. JJB,
I don't.
He's made the best out of a good career. And what I will say about JJB is, if he played for Wakefield, let's say, would he make the Great Britain squad? I don't think so. I think because he was part of a successful lead side where he did do a lot of the donkey work, and you're absolutely right in what you're saying.
Yeah.
He was just a good, solid player in a very, very good team which had Sinfield, Burrow, Maguire.
However, from his position point of view, that's what you need. You need that second rower to do the graft.
Completely agree with you.
And I think JJB fits that. Don't get me wrong. I know I can see, you're both going, really? I genuinely think if you look at his stats, JJB did a lot of groundwork, which a lot of players don't necessarily do. But that's obviously, it's all opinion based. But yeah, for me, JJB.
Well, it is. Value your opinion. It's wrong, but I value your opinion. It's what it's all about. And I see, it's my love affair with Dave Lawrie for the fact. He's just. I mean, and like not a lot of people have seen it, but he's very similar to the job that JJB did. He just tackled his heart out, he made his yard, he scored his tries, that sort of thing. But it was never gonna. Well, JJB was, but if you put Dave Lawrie in the St Helens team, he might be international. I just genuinely think you have a lot of examples of JJB across Super League, and for a dream team, I don't think that works. Gaz Ellis, I agree with you. He's not made my team. Just I'll explain why. Now, second row I've got is Andy Farrell. Andy Farrell is class, absolute class. Not just because he was in a Wigan team. He was the leader of that Wigan team. He was just absolute class. He could play a few positions. I couldn't put him at 6 because of Sinfield and other people like that. But I genuinely think, as a narrow running second rower who could chime in, I think he was just outstanding for that. And my other second rower, again, Gaz Ellis just misses out, Chris Joynt.
Ooh.
Chris Joynt is the second rower because just constant, never misses a tackle. He scored so many tries for a second row as well, including the best try I've ever seen. That's not made no bones about it, the West to West try. And yeah, he did it internationally as well.
I bet he's good. That guy's known as the wide to west, even though Joint scored it.
No, when I've seen interviews with him, he got. I think it was Eddie Hemmings' documentary. They did an interview with Chris Joynt, and he makes a good point that he gave Saints, I think, 12 years, and all everyone talks about is just that try. He scored one of the winning tries in the World Cup Challenge. He scored grand final tries as well. He was just absolutely amazing player. The more I think about it, the more Gaz Ellis. The only thing which lets Gaz Ellis down, in my opinion, is that he went to the NRL, and he's probably his best rugby was in the NRL. Every single year he played for West Tigers, he won their Player of the Year. When he came back to Hull. Yeah, very, very good player, but is he an outstanding player? I would argue against it. Again, it's one of those.
2 Challenge Cups.
Oh, true.
He won a grand final.
Yeah, true, yeah. And I genuinely, he's one of our underrated players. I think Gaz Ellis, alongside the likes of Lee. He's very underrated. I think he's a player's player, is Gaz Ellis. He does everything, but he doesn't make my team just for those reasons. Rick, who are you on for?
Well, I've agreed with you on one, Mike. I've gone for Andy Farrell as well.
Yeah.
Great Britain captain at 18. Just sheer class. He was the kind of guy that if you were going into a war, you wanted Faz on your side. Just an absolute unit. Great rugby player to boot. Being shown that he could play halfback for Great Britain and play well. And then roll up in the front row, the back row, and he could do anything. Just again, a natural rugby player. Probably sad that he left the game when he did, but you can't blame him because obviously he's forged a career out of it and everything.
He'd done it all. Very similar to the point you made about Ryan Hall. He was on his way out. If Union comes to you and offers you mega bucks to switch when you've done pretty much all you can do, why wouldn't you?
And I'm surprised that we've got a Leeds fan on that didn't pick a player that I consider played his best rugby at Leeds. Now,
by the way,
again, you've made the point about Gaz Ellis being great in the NRL. This lad went and did everything in the NRL, but when he were in Super League, he's the one player that if you watch these collages of who are the top 5 toughest players you've played against, he's either first or second in every one. And that's Adrian Morley. Just an outstanding, again, man mountain, the kind of guy that you would hate to have to tackle 40 or 50 times a game because he was just a unit, just a player. JJB seems to me the type of player that's, when you played yourself, you had the lad that always turned up to training, he was always on time and everything, and he turned up to play on Sunday. He didn't do anything special. He didn't make that. But you'd have someone like Morley who come in who would punch a hole in a defence, who would...
In my defence, though, he's actually on my bench, Morley. So, yeah.
But yeah,
interchange.
Adrian Morley on that one.
Right.
Well,
how do we decide this then? Because we've got Farrell's definitely in, 2 votes. Then we've got 1 for Ellis, 1 for Joint, 1 for JJB, and 1 for Morley. Now, we have to probably put it to a vote. Well, I don't know. It's a weird one.
We already had.
If I were going to choose one, I would actually no. Let's do it a different way. Lawrie. Oh, God, no, because you'll choose JJB.
No, Ellis. I'd say Ellis.
Oh, right, okay. Because me and Rick have picked at Farrell, and that's who.
Yeah, I think Ellis every day. I just think Ellis just gives that grunt as well, and get the ball. And yeah, I'd pick Ellis. Yeah.
I'm chuffed with that. Yeah. I'll play concede that. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely. I mean, I remember talking to a couple of the reserves lads when he first came back to Hull. He got a really bad injury, didn't he? And it took him to get over it. And he played a reserve game, Hull's reserves against our lads, and they said they took more from playing against a player like Gaz Ellis than they have from any of the other reserve games they played. Just because, you even when you're not on the field, if you're watching what he's doing and you're picking up the way his attitude, he's one of those names that always gets brought up. It's just, I like my players to be explosive and to be able to make something out of nothing. And Gaz Ellis is probably more a technical player.
Yeah.
But I would concede that. Yeah, I would concede that. Right.
So we get to our 13. Now, is this going to be the most obvious pick ever in Dream Team picks for you, Lawrie? Or are you being a bit brave?
I think you could probably guess who mine is, and you've already picked him.
I would agree with you, but I'll make a point for another player. Yeah.
I know who you're probably going to go for. I kind of had that tough choice here as well. Sinfield every day. I think, yes, he's not the most talented player on the pitch. However, what he does and how he leads players is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think, as daft as it sounds, he's one of those players that just you'd want on his side no matter what. Because I mean, he's only ever had one problem in his career, one issue, and that was when he headbutted the cast player back in.
Yeah.
And that was it. All the time you've ever seen Sinfield lose his rag or do anything stupid. Yeah. Every other time, every minute he spent on the pitch, apart from when he decided to not kick for 2 at Cardiff in 2003. Every other time he's been superb. But that moment, that's the only ever time you've ever seen him break his rugby league player mind. That's it.
Do you not think that thing in Cardiff made him the rugby player he became? Because he was still very young.
Yeah.
Very young captain. Because I remember, I was there that day, and obviously I watched it back and stuff. It was very much a Tony Smith mentality of, we don't take 2, we go for the tie, stuff like that. And Sinfield kind of said, it was being diplomatic. I'm sure it was being diplomatic, saying, we're on the field and we could see that. No, in a cup final, you take 2. Do you think that helped him going forward in his career to be that strong minded and going, I'm going to stand by my decision and do what I want to do?
You're right. And 2003 was a really horrible year for Leeds because we kind of faltered after that big time. Yeah, I think it did as well, because that game was awful for a number of reasons. There were a couple of calls that Russell Smith gave against us for nothing. They got a try which shouldn't have been. We got a lucky try. Yeah, it kind of did. And if you think about it, 18 months later, we were celebrating our first grand final win. So I think it took a lot for him to pick that up. And for what he did learn, I mean, you can say that downfall ended up becoming quite a bit of a legacy. Made him. But yeah, me personally, the other option I did have, which I did think about, but he's on my bench. I did think Sculthorpe, but yeah. Well, Sinfield.
Sculthorpe's my 13 because he's what you want from a 13. Now, the first two play. If I'm picking a Super League Dream Team, my first two picks are Sinfield and Sculthorpe. They have to be in my team because they will give you everything. They give you leadership. They will make the right decisions at the right time, and they're classy players. Sculthorpe, I just think, is a better 13 than a 6 for Sinfield, than whatever. But those are my reasons. You can't change him. Arguably, Sculthorpe's best ever rugby league game was at 6 for Great Britain, so it's bonkers. And then you got Sinfield, who played so well in the Four Nations for England at hooker and all that sort of stuff. But for the same reason, like with Sean Long, you tuned in to watch rugby because of Sculthorpe. It won't matter steal twice on the trot, for God's sake. Let's not argue. You can't argue with facts there, really.
Oh no.
It was just unbelievable, and and a little bit dirty. He had a bit of kneel in it, but who didn't? You need that inner forward pack, really. But for the size he was, it was quick. He could kick goals. It was unselfish, and he stepped up when it was needed. And that's what you want from 13. And you make a very good point for Sinfield. I'm one of Kevin Sinfield's biggest fans. I think he's like I said before. I think he's criminally underrated for the player he was. He made other players look good, in my opinion, and he don't get the credit he deserves. I don't think.
And also as well, we can't forget he actually had a team which had Ian Kirk in at one point. I mean, that says everything. Unbelievable. He managed to get Ian Kirk playing, which.
I'm surprised you didn't have a second row of Ian Kirk and JJB, to be honest. But.
I was going to chuck in Ryan Bailey as well, but I thought let's not go
there. Oh, thank God for that. If we're going for the most hated Super League 13, I think...
There you go, that's a good idea for the future.
There we go. Hey, good stuff. There we go. Next week's show, Rick. Rick, I think I know your mind.
Oh, there's only one player. He's the greatest Super League player in the history of the league, Paul Sculthorpe. Like you've already mentioned, when you're picking a dream team for Super League, he's the first name I put down straight away. There's no debate for me. Sinfield obviously had a fantastic career, but you've mentioned it himself that he probably made others better and maybe that neglected his game. Sculthorpe, that period that he went through around the turn of the century, were just unplayable every week. I think something like 40 games in a row, he would either man of the match or close to it. And again, what a player. Just unbelievable. Any player that can give it to the Aussies gets my instant respect. But I just wanted to make a point about the Leeds things you were saying. I didn't want to jump in, but you were saying how terrible it was when you didn't take 2 in a cup final in 03. I'm thinking 03, that year rings a bell. I've no sympathy, I'm afraid. I think we went through a bit worse of an ordeal over our end.
Do you know what, though? It's a controversial opinion, but I know a lot of my friends think the same. 2003 was one of my favourite years of watching Halifax, simply because, I know it's a weird one, but we knew we were going to lose. We knew we were going down. We got that early, and it was literally one big piss-up. We literally went to all the away days, just get drunk. If we scored, it was the biggest party you could ever wish to have. And quite a few players kind of made it. I think Simon Griggs made his debut in that year because we'd literally had no players to do it. Scott Griggs made his debut that year. Danny Jones made his debut that year. A lot of Sean Penkovic, lots of players made the move in that year. But for the joy of watching rugby league, it was brilliant because you go to rugby league to watch a game of rugby, have a drink, have a laugh.
It's what rugby league is.
And it's one of those rugby league's the winner kind of thing. He's not the winner, he's taking part. We didn't win any, but won one game. I was there for that win, which was amazing. But it was just brilliant. Obviously, losing 27 games on the trot is absolute shite. But hey ho, we've removed that from from our memories, kind of thing. But yeah, controversial opinion.
Forever. It's
Yeah, it's true.
To the retinas.
So that completes our 13. Pretty decent team, actually. Let's run through it. Let's go from start to finish. So we've got Paul Wellens as fullback, Leslie Varnicolo and Ryan Hall on the wings, Jamie Lyon and Keith Senior as centres, Danny Maguire and Sean Long as halfbacks, James Graham, Kieran Cunningham and Peacock make up the front row, Gareth Ellis and Andy Farrell at the second row, and Paul Sculthorpe is the loose forward. One question I forgot to ask last week, which is a really interesting one, which was very tricky to do this time. Who would your captain be? Who would captain that team? Because running through the list, you've got people being captain. We've got Wellens, Graham, Cunningham, Peacock, Ellis, Farrell, Sculthorpe. They've all been captains.
I think there's only one. Like I've already said, Great Britain captain at 18. You've got to be a special kind of person. Andy Farrell's the captain of that team.
Yeah.
I'd have said maybe Sculthorpe.
Not Peacock.
No, because I mean, if you think about it, Peacock's never been. He was never captain of Rhinos at any point. I don't think. Or somebody probably statistical. Somebody will go, "Oh, he was for this game." He was never a full-out captain for the team. He led from the front, but he let everybody else do the captain work.
One of those where you don't have to have that label of captain.
Yeah. I think he'd rather do the job of and he never was that sort. I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it? But yeah, probably Farrell.
What about who coaches it?
Noble.
Oh, yeah, I'd say so.
I mean, the thing is, Noble's one of those coaches who he has people who dislike him, but he always got results and always did really well. Even as a Leeds fan, it hurts me to say this, but he did really well for Bradford as a coach. Not many other coaches out there. Brian McDermott's a bit too. He wound people up, even on the playing side of things. I'm not sure I don't know if he'll ever go down as he will go down as a great coach, but whether he'll be as a top quality, remembered in history, I'm not sure.
Again, with McDermott, like obviously, I've watched that documentary, As Good as It Gets, which is a very, very good rugby league documentary, actually. You don't have to be a Leeds fan to enjoy it. What McDermott had, which made his job easier, he had Kevin Sinfield in there, he had Danny Maguire in there, he had that emotional connection. You've got 5-6 players who would die for a Leeds shirt there. You don't need to really coach that, whereas Brian Noble brought together a lot of players, not necessarily local ones, but he spotted Jamie Peacock. He created the awesome foursome, for God's sake.
Oh, yeah. The one issue with McDermott was, if you look at Leeds games, a lot of Leeds games, he'd only play 2 or 3 subs. He won't bother playing 4. And also, we also had 2 seasons where we were near relegation that he created. You've got to forget that we nearly went down a couple of times, and that was from part of his coaching. And he almost relied on, if you look at the season directly after 2015, we should have been up there again, but we wasn't. And that was mainly because Sinfield, Peacock, Lawrie, the big leaders of the group, weren't there anymore. And it was, for me, Brian McDermott, don't get me wrong, he's won trophies, done really well for Leeds. Didn't, I would say personally, he relied on other people to help.
Good I'm going to took a name out. Trent Robinson, just for the post-match interviews, would be amazing. Touch screen and all that. He's
a really decent guy, Trent Robinson. He's a really nice guy. Just generally, I met him very briefly. And a really nice guy. I'm quite surprised, actually.
It's one of them. That's what you want.
I'm glad he's got his choice, because obviously the NRL looked down on us, especially with coaches and stuff. And for the NRL to look to Super League to bring a coach back for him to do what he's done with Sydney Roosters is ridiculous, really. So but I agree with your shout there, Laura. I think Nobby would be a very, very good coach of that.
A bit like the Mourinho league, wasn't he? It was a bit like the Jose Mourinho. He was the guy that you turned to when you wanted to turn things around.
Yeah. The thing with Nobby's teams, though, again, it's like that the Great Britain team that he ran as well. They play for him. The players want to play for him. He's a player's coach rather than a coach to get results. He got both of them, but if you'd asked all those Leeds players that won all the titles under McDermott, did you love playing under McDermott? I don't think they would do, really. Obviously, they've got that respect for him, whereas I think quite a lot of players will say, I love playing for Brian Noble, whether it's for Bradford, Wigan, Crusaders or GB, or Toronto briefly. But I completely agree with you there in that choice. But we should have that last week. International coach, but that's another podcast for another week. While you got you on, Lawrie, obviously we've got to talk about Super League and that sort of thing. It's due to start. What we're saying, due to start. It's got 5 minute warning, everyone. Try and condense it to 5 minutes. Firstly, you're looking forward to Super League being back. Do you agree with it being restarted? And what are your hopes for it?
I'm glad it's back. I just hope everyone stays safe. I mean, the difference between us and football is we're contacts, and a lot of players are very close to each other. Personally, I think it's this next 18 months as a whole for the whole game, not just Super League. It'll be horrendous, I think. Personally, I think it's not going to be easy. Without sounding harsh, there could be some case of clubs going bust. I don't know. It's going to be intriguing. I think if any fan thinks might be in the ground by the end of the season, I don't think he will, personally. No. I think we'll probably be looking at springtime before we can get into a game. Maybe not. We don't know. Nobody knows. But I just hope that all the people who do go out and play are safe. And it's really weird. I'm a bit worried, actually. I'll be honest. I think it's going to be one of those where we're not like football. A lot of the clubs are struggling. Will struggle financially, especially when we restart. It's going to be horrible. And there might be some casualties, and not just in terms of there might be clubs who really struggle. Even the competition might struggle. We don't know. I don't know.
I hope not. It's been wonderful to see how good Australia have got themselves on their feet, and the NRL has been a shining light on how to do it. But obviously, Australia is a completely different country. They've gone different lockdown and that sort of stuff there.
Yeah.
It's very, very hodgepodge, and we mentioned off air that there could be 3 games a week in some instances, which is absolutely daft for rugby league, especially when in 18 months' time there's a World Cup. And we need players fit for that. We need our big ones fit, because that could be either the start of something great, or it could be the death of rugby league. If that World Cup isn't run properly.
It's a tough one as well, because if you think about it, as soon as we get back to playing on August the 1st, in 14 months, the amount of rugby that's going to be played, it's going to look great. We've got rugby on TV, but we've got to think player welfare. There's not a huge amount of rugby league players at the minute out there. And what are playing are going to be playing a heck of a lot. It's going to be tough. I've got a feeling we could see clubs bringing in youngsters who might not have the most experience of playing out there, and they're going to get hammered, which it's going to be tough. I mean, fingers crossed. Maybe it's me just being really down on it, but I think we need to really be careful, especially restarting.
No, I completely agree. I'm of the opinion that I don't think there's much point in the Championship and League One starting again. There's no, we don't have the money that Super League has for various different reasons and stuff. Let's look after those players, especially because they're part time and stuff. Super League's slightly different, but you're right. They're not just players; they're human beings as well. They've got families, they've got lives there as well, and it's paramount, really. So hopefully they are being looked after. Hopefully there's a plan in place, and hopefully we see some good action on the box. But more importantly, we get to that World Cup next year where we've got the cream selection of not just our home nations, but everyone. We need a good World Cup on the whole, really, to revitalise our sport, really. So
plus, as well, it could be the first big sporting event in the country, really, in terms of that we've hosted after this. So we do need it to be good, but you're right. You've got to have the players, and if they're knackered, it sounds. I feel I'll probably get criticised for this, even if it means say just next season, just having the league, Challenge Cup, we'll postpone a year, or do it in a different entity, or just say, look, we need to just have one competition. That won't bother me. Personally, it won't bother me. I know traditionalists will be like, oh, you can't postpone Challenge Cup. I just think personally we just might need to look at it. I don't know.
That is for people who get paid a lot more than us three to do our jobs, who get to do that. But we will wait and see for that one. Lawrie, thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. All the best for the podcast. If you want to listen to it, it's Loiners View on Spotify, YouTube and that. Rick, as always, thank you very much for doing what you do. And for myself, Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe, and more importantly, love the fact